My name is Aisha Francis, and I've attended History Makers Training Level 1 and Level 2. History Makers Training totally changed my life. It rocked my world. I was overwhelmed. I was shook. The foundation that I thought I had built was uprooted, but I left absolutely changed. There isn't a training like History Makers out there. I've done several trainings. I've been a Christian for such a long time. It just felt like you're always looking for that training. And I went to this training not knowing what to expect. And usually you leave a training with a plan to implement, a plan of action, a plan of how you're going to take what you've learned and apply it. But at History Makers Training, we implemented on site. We were activated right there. And so I didn't leave with a plan to change. I actually left changed. I didn't know that there could be more, and there was so much more to learn. I went deeper. I had a deeper revelation of God. I had a deeper revelation of myself and what I was capable of and what I was responsible for. And I think that in and of itself just opened up a wealth of possibility for me that I thought I saw, but I had an even greater revelation of everything that God had downloaded to me over the years. All these visions that I had and didn't know, why me, or how could it be me, or, that I could actually do it. I left History Makers 2 with the knowing that I actually could. It broke the mold of me believing that it was enough for me to show up and be in church and show up and do stuff in church. But we have to now get to the part of action and doing. And History Makers compelled me and changed my mindset that let me know that it's not enough to just show up at church on a Sunday, that I needed to do that for the world. It was just incredible. It's like I had never experienced anything like this before. In all of my Holy Ghost moments with Jesus, I had never experienced anything like this because I was functioning from a place that was bigger than who I was. I am a graduate of History Makers Academy.
My name is Crystal Courtney Elliott. I attended History Makers Academy in October 2013. I came to History Makers as a new Christian and really feeling that I didn't belong there, that I hadn't been a Christian long enough and that I wasn't worth it. And wow, was I wrong. It was very, very intense, but I left History Makers feeling free, and I haven't felt freedom in forever. So it was really, really empowering. My experience after History Makers has been amazing. I've got self-confidence that I've never had before, and I never plan on losing it. Where I used to be is with absolutely no self-confidence in myself at all. I would make 10 promises to somebody and I'd keep all 10. I'd make 10 promises to myself and keep none. And the realization of that during History Makers was just amazing. It's like, how can I keep everything for everybody else and nothing for myself? And since History Makers, I have kept 100% of my promises to myself, and it feels amazing. The first homework assignment results came back and I got an excellent. And I started crying. And Pastor Derek asked me why I was crying. I got an excellent. I said it's because I don't deserve to be here. I didn't feel like I'd be there. And to get an excellent, and then I got a perfect. And then I got a perfect. And then I got an excellent. And it's like, okay, what's going on here? Why didn't I get a perfect? So it was just really amazing how you actually think about doing your best and to strive for what God knows you can do in the feeling of impossibility. During the homework assignments, you need to really dig deep into your own person and find out where you are and where you want to be and what's holding you back. Before History Makers, I found that really, really hard to do and to get everything out on paper. It was like, wow, I could really make a difference in this world, and I can see now what God sees in me. And I'm amazed at what I can accomplish when I really want to do something and put my mind to it. I can do anything. I don't find myself to be an achiever prior to History Makers. And during History Makers, when I was achieving excellent and perfect marks, I was amazed at the ability that I had to go way beyond my thoughts of possibility and achieve everything that I was able to accomplish. What kind of program is this that can take me from here to here in such a short amount of time, and it's a permanent change? I'm a graduate of History Makers Academy.
Hi, I'm John,
And I'm Marilyn Brooks.
and we took History Makers Level 1.
It was an experience that definitely took you from operating in the natural and shifted you into the supernatural.
It really changed our way of looking at God, of seeking God, of waiting for God's response. Don't you agree?
I agree, and it totally changed our perspective of God being seen in us by the people that we see every day. And it has totally changed how we can express God through us to these people. I think one thing too that we would like to stress is it is so important for older people like us to take History Makers training, because we obviously have more behind us than we have ahead of us. However, we are walking in such a definite call of God on our lives.
I'm not 20 years old anymore, but God still has a use for me. And it was just amazing how I saw things differently after History Makers. I saw a real future. God has a future for me, and He wants us to do our part in order to accomplish that while He strengthens us and guides us. It changed how I viewed everything in my life, even from here on in.
One other thing we wanted to mention, we want to encourage married couples to take History Makers. You're already walking in a covenant relationship in marriage. You have a covenant with God. And for you to come together into this revelation of how God really wants to impact your life and use you as a married couple and as individuals in this world in 2014. If you have to come one at a time to get a babysitter, do that. But married couples, come and have your marriage as well as your lives changed at History Makers.
One of the major experiences that I had during History Makers was watching some of the people that I was there with. And I know for a fact that some of them thought very little of themselves. They had been taught to think very little of themselves, and they had a very low self-esteem, and one of them even thought that he was totally illiterate because he'd been brought up to think that he was so. And to watch the change take place in those people just grabbed my pastor's heart. I was just so delighted to see how they succeeded. And these people made the top marks in the whole exercise. Mm-hmm. It was just an astounding thing to me. And to watch them just cry for joy and have a whole new outlook on life was just something that I'll never forget. And I would encourage pastors from any church, pastors who are maybe watching this right now, to choose those in their congregation that they know are sort of in the background because they don't feel they can do anything else, and encourage them to attend a History Makers class, and just to watch the change that takes place in people when they come out with greater confidence, not only in themselves, but in God and how God can use them. We've discussed this matter at home, and on a scale of 1 to 10, we've decided that the impact History Makers has had on our lives is
11.5.
We are graduates of History Makers Academy.